Good morning. Welcome to a very wet and windy East Kent. Thank you for joining me. Bit of a break in the storm, so I had a little bit of time to record this video. Started writing this as a blog post, but I realised that probably it would sound a bit better as a video. It's a bit easier to explain. And as everyone else is doing a YouTube channel, I thought it was about time that Prixdelahorse did the same thing. If you like this video, if you like the content we produce, please remember to like and subscribe and all the rest of it so that we can get some more exposure. Just wanted to take you through a couple of eye catchers that I've seen in France recently, and hopefully this will make me look very clever. We can clip it up and celebrate when they both win in the coming weeks. You may have noticed a slight drop off in terms of the analysis and content I've been doing. The reason for that is that we've had so much rain in France. A lot of the turf racing has been on heavy ground. If we take today's meeting at Nantes as an example, the penetrometer reading this morning was 4.6. That's very deep, and having watched the first couple of races, it looks an absolute quagmire. And I think in this country, it'd probably be 50-50 whether the meeting was on. When we get form like that on the turf, I'm very sceptical as to how much you can trust it. I certainly don't get involved from a betting point of view. So I tend to sort of step back, watch the results, keep a few notes together, and then we'll have a go again once the weather turns and it gets a bit drier, or indeed when they start to head south for the winter for those meetings down at Pau and Cannes-sur-Mer. But there have been a couple of performances I've been keeping an eye on that really stood out to me. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the France Gallop site. If you haven't got a France Gallop account, you should do. It's completely free of charge. It's absolutely fantastic site. The BHA could learn so much from this. You can watch all the replays for free. You've got access to sectional times, breeding, trainer form, articles, the lot. For those who use French, isn't that great? There's also an English tab, so you can switch it over as well. That's my little plug for them out the way as I'm using their site in my YouTube video. Let me share my screen with you and just show you what I mean. So there are two horses that I just wanted to highlight as horses for next time, if you like. The first is a Jean-Claude Rouget trained colt called Cambaceres. He's a Wooten Basset colt. He's actually out of Bain. She was a very talented mare for Francois Rojo. She actually finished second in the French Guineas about a decade ago. Lots of form in the pedigree without anything really standing out too much. But there were several things that I really wanted to highlight with Cambaceres. The first is that he made his debut in the middle of October at Deauville in what is traditionally quite a strong newcomers event. Now, on paper, he's finished fourth, beaten 3 lengths, but I really wanted to highlight why I feel this is important to look at his form over the others. The first is the PMU. It is difficult when you've got a tote monopoly because you are having to constantly look at the PMU. And really, other than looking 2 minutes before the off, it is very difficult to be able to say accurately whether there's market support or whether it's just the fluctuations of how much money's in the pool, particularly early in the morning when there's very limited sums in there. But at the off, he went off a 3.8, which is around 11-4 shot for his debut. This looked a relatively strong renewal of this race, on paper at least. But the race really turned into a bit of a fast. It was a mile race. They ran it in 1 minute 50.58 seconds. That's very slow. Even for soft ground, that's very slow. And the sectionals, which France Gallop provide through the McLeod system, also really show us that this race was just a farce. I've actually hand-timed this 3 times myself to check that the figure is right, but 150.58 seconds looks very fair. And when you look at this column here on the right-hand side, the final 600 metres, it's extremely rare to see all 8 runners dipping below 34 seconds. This is almost a 3 furlong sprint. Bright Picture wins the race. Rochefort and Aguiletto both race relatively prominently. As they turn into the straight, Cambaceres is around 6 to 7 lengths behind the leaders. So he's done well, really, to get within 3 lengths. His closing 3 furlongs have been running 33.22 seconds. He's pretty much matched the winner. But I think the form book will say second favourite on debut, beaten 4 lengths. And if you were just to look at it without considering the time data, you might think that he's slightly disappointed. But actually, I think he's run a massive race. I really think he's a colt that I want to be with next time. Now, he doesn't have any entries at the moment. I think it's highly likely that we may well see him at Cannes-sur-Mer in January. Jean-Claude Rouget likes to target those early 3-year-old maidens. He looks just the type who'd do well there, particularly as some of the other big yards tend to leave that meeting alone. Definitely got him on my radar. The other horse I really wanted to highlight is from the completely opposite end of the scale. And it's a horse called Romanello. I've actually got a lot of time for this gelding. He's been around a long time now. He's a 5-year-old rising 6. And let's face it, he's had 37 starts. He's won 3 of them. He's placed on 19 other occasions. He's picked up 97,000 of prize money without going beyond the equivalent of a mark of 75, which is probably more testament to the state of prize money in France compared to what it would be in the UK. But the reason he's interesting for me is I've watched his last two runs, and on both occasions, he's just been in completely the wrong place in relatively steadily run affairs where he's absolutely tanked into the race, but he's just far too far back. That's particularly true of the run 2 starts ago at Le Mans, but also at Argentine last time. Well, I'll openly admit I was with him. I thought this was the day. He looked like he was tanking into the race, and the race just developed. They started up the hill. As they turned for home, he was caught off heels, and by the time he pulled himself out, it was too late. But the French handicapper has dropped him to a career low mark of 29 kilos. For those of you who work in pounds and pence, that's probably the equivalent of around about a mark of 63. But what I think is interesting is his 2 wins of 2 of the 3 races that he won have been the handicaps. He's won that off marks of 33.5 and 32. We won't get any real clues from the PMU because these 3 wins have come at prices of 4.8, 11 and 13. So it's not like they're backing him off the boards. I don't think he's one that they're particularly lining up. But what I do think is he's an in-form horse. Both his recent runs would suggest to me he's at the peak of his fitness. He's just not been in the right place. But the French handicapper is giving him a chance. He's down to a career low mark. And really what I'd be looking for is an in-form horse on a career low mark. And that's what he is. He's actually got an entry at La Crosse-la-Roche at the weekend. With all the rain around, whether he takes the entries is open to be seen. In fact, whether the meeting's even on is open to be seen. But he looks the type to me, although he's not the most progressive, he is what he is. He is in form and he is consistent. And I really want to stick with him until I get a win. I'm absolutely certain in his current form that he's going to be capable of picking up a little class 3 handicap or a class 4 conditions race. And when that time comes, I want to be with him. Those are just the 2 for now that I've highlighted, but I will be having a look at the 2 days of racing at Auteuil that come up next weekend. Fantastic grade 1 action over fences and hurdles there that I think there may be a video for next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. If there's anything you'd like me to pick up on or anything you'd like to ask, feel free to drop me a line on Twitter or put it in the comments below.